Codex podcast. Your host, Steven, and co-hosts Mike, Devon, and JD are all set. Join us and tweet your questions at Freelancer Codex. Find us on Facebook at Freelancer Codex, or send emails to freelancercodex@gmail.com. Strap into your javelins and let's drop in.
Welcome, freelancers, to episode 52 of the Freelancer Codex podcast. I am your host, Steve, coming at you live from remote from California. Not usually my own recording station, so all my stuff is messed up. So if this episode sounds a little strange, it's my fault. But I'm here with my fantastic co-hosts, Devon, Mike, and JD. Guys, how are you doing on this fantastic Sunday post the PAX West panel of Our Story, Your World? Or Your World, Our Story. Or
Our World, Your Story.
Yeah,
My story. Our world, my story. Come on, guys, get it right. How's everybody doing out there? Everybody doing okay?
I'm tired.
Oh, man, I think we're all kind of feeling it. I think Steve is kind of feeling it. He got pretty salty in our pre-show, and he was not liking us very much. So we will try to be happy for him, because when the boss is happy, everybody is happy. So,
that is correct.
Who said that?
Usually when the three kids are happy that you've been traveling 13 hours with in a van are happy, then you're happy. Usually if they're not happy, then it makes it a really long trip.
Then nobody's happy.
Guys,
Nobody's happy.
this is the Freelancer Codex podcast, the longest running Anthem podcast on the internet. I think we might have to change our name from the Freelancer Codex to the Freelancer Cortex. But
No, I think we're good.
I don't know if we're gonna do that.
They call the loot things, the lore things, codexes still.
Yeah, I think they might have got that mixed up. It's probably going through a lot of names at the studio, but Mike Ganival did call it a Cortex. But
do you think that maybe there's a lot of people calling things by the wrong name? Did that happen at all this weekend?
I don't think that ever happens. It certainly doesn't happen on this podcast.
You don't have a really cool soundbite where somebody called something by the wrong name after it was called by the right name?
Samantha, go for it.
I think it was my favorite part of the whole
Samantha, go for it.
And he was just like so confident, like, I'm changing your name now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call you
This is
Savannah.
your name.
And this is the name for which you shall be known by for the rest of your life.
Accept it, Samantha.
Yes.
He was so confident that I actually, like, after hearing it again, like, I now realized that he made a mistake. I thought her name was Samantha.
Like, your name is Samantha now. It could have been worse. She could have been Adele Dizzy.
Adele Demsey.
Adele Dazeem.
Oh.
But guys,
Good.
PAX West happened. We got a new story trailer with a lot of new things that we haven't seen before. We got to see the storm in action a bunch. That cape physics seemed to be going well for them because the cape was in the video, and it looked fantastic. We saw a lot of the interceptor. We saw how the interceptor moves. It's a flight animation, which is really different from the Ranger. So it seems like all the animations are going to be different. They're not going to be just stock. This is what it looks like when you fly. This is what it looks like when you run. All those things are going to be a lot different. Is there anything that you guys saw from the story trailer that really stood out to you? I don't think we want to do a deep dive into the trailer, but just kind of high level stuff. What are some things that stood out to you that really caught your attention, caught your eye? JD, what was that one thing you're like, oh man, I can't believe they're doing this now?
I mean, for me, it was probably our first, the shot where it was probably our first glimpse at what could be the Anthem of creation. Because there's that shot where they're like, they're trying to do whatever to the Anthem, and when they say the Anthem, they cut to this shot of this, like, glowing, like, pillar thing in the middle of the room, like this, like, fluctuating light, and I was like, is that the Anthem? Is it, like, an actual thing, like, just in a room somewhere?
Yeah, that would be kind of weird. It's like, did you just walk into that room to get access to the Anthem? What's going on here?
Is that a
Is it a
piece
part
of
of
the
it? Is it the
anthem?
whole thing? I have so many questions.
I was assuming it's probably just a relic, but I mean, who knows? It could be the Anthem, and the Anthem could be portable. You could pick it up and stick it in your pocket and, go to Fort Tarsus. I don't know. But I thought it was just a relic. But
Excellent.
Devon, what did you see in the video?
One of the cool things I saw was they had, obviously the video editors used old and new stuff, so there was old UI and also new UI. One of the big things they changed, instead of doing left and right bumper to do your ultimate, it's just up on the D-pad. That's what it currently is. according to Mike Gamble on Twitter. So I thought that was cool just to see the update, as they're still trying to get what they want it to look like. So there's a couple different examples of that in the trailer.
So it's not really a set UI yet, which is good. It's nice that we know that they're probably trying things and they're going to stick with the thing that makes the most sense. They're going to stick with the thing that is the most fun. And sometimes you have to iterate a lot in order to do that. Mike, what was the favorite thing that you saw during that new story trailer?
So I kind of got hung up on all the art and just the I guess it wouldn't be art in the trailer, but just the visuals and the way the world is put together and the landscapes and the vistas and the way everything moves together. I got really sucked into the I don't know what I would call it, the visuals of the game, if that's the proper term. Just kind of getting sucked in and being pulled into that world. Colors were just vibrant and nice and neat, and it was cool. And I really liked hearing we got more information on how things are going to progress in Anthem, with people giving us quests and characters that we're going to meet. And I think we're going to talk about that here in a little bit, so I won't spoil too much. But just the direction that it's going, it seems that again, we haven't heard a whole lot, and there's a lot of stuff that they're keeping pretty close to the chest, and I think it's because they're working on it so hard. And so I think the only thing that does is that makes it nice for us, because we know that we are getting the best possible product that they can put out, even though we might be a little bit antsy, and still I think we're even now more antsy after PAX West, because we can see what's coming and we kind of want it now. So just overall excitement. Nothing really too specific, but those are the things that while I was watching PAX West, I kind of, that's cool. I'm gonna really enjoy doing that. So
very cool. There's a lot of things in the video that I really liked. I mean, this was like, what was it, 2 minutes and like 13-second long video? Not a very long video, but I think it was pretty jam packed. One thing that we did see in the last demo that we saw for EA Play, we did see an Ash Titan. In this video, we saw a legendary Ash Titan, and it looked like there might have been extra bits on that Ash Titan. Maybe some spikes or something coming out of the shoulders. So maybe it's going to be that as these giant creatures do go up in what I don't know if you would call it rarity or in ranking, that they might look visually different, which is kind of cool. We did see the wyverns up close, and they breathe fire apparently. The spirit got a name. It's the Ursix. So we've got names for that stuff. There's the giant statue face that we saw that was overgrown. Kind of just speaks to, hey, this right here it's an old world. There's someone built this statue. I don't know if it was the humans on the planet. I don't know if that was left over from the Shapers. The Shapers were building statues to themselves, and they got left by. So that just invoked a lot of different possibilities in my mind. We saw I don't know why I just called you Anthony, JD. It doesn't make any sense. But I'm really tired. It's been a really long day. So we saw the Anthem creation or whatever that is, and the relic, and then we saw the interceptor ground pounding a couple of people. So I don't know what kind of enemy that we saw that the interceptor killing, but it wasn't something that we've seen before. It almost looked more humanoid, but I don't know what that was. So there's a lot of cool things. There's been a lot of talk on the internet about them not showing enough during this little trailer. Were you guys expecting them to show a ton of information, or do you guys think this was just the right amount of information for where we're at right now, being 173 days away from the release? Do you think they showed too much, or do you think they showed too little, Devon?
No, I think it was fine. I think they showed a good amount of gameplay. Obviously, like I said, some of it was old, some of it's new. They gave you just a little tease. I mean, they're not going to give it all the way, because then there's no point, right? But they gave us a ton of other information on their website, and there's just a lot of stuff. And I understand people want to see it, but at the same time, they're obviously still working on it, on a daily basis, trying to finalize and set in stone. Okay, this is what it's going to be when it ships, and what it's going to look like. So I understand their hesitancy to not overshare, but they gave us information, so that's the thing I cared about. We know the game looks good. We all want to see, give us some more information about the Storm, and the Interceptor, and how they play, and different things. And I think a lot of that's just going to be hard to do until you actually get your hands on it and play the demo. So.
Yeah, I think they get into the position like CD Projekt Red. They weren't going to show the Cyberpunk 2077 trailer at all, but they felt so much pressure from fans that, if the press got to see it, why can't we see it? And CD Projekt Red is always, they're all about, their fans and their people, and they'll do anything for their fans. So they released it. And what happened last time they did that with The Witcher 3 is there was, everyone calls it the downgrade from what they saw at, I think Witcher 3 was like at multiple E3s for like 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
And when the game was released and it didn't look exactly like those E3 trailers, there was a huge outcry of, why did you downgrade my game? So there definitely is that aspect that, how much do we show you if it's not 100% set in stone? Mike, is there...
I did think they did really good, though, with that trailer where they're like, look, right up front, this is not representative of... I mean, everything you see here could change. They said that big old, type font up there, and then it was displayed all across the top of the CD Projekt Red, 45 or 47 minutes, whatever it was. It always says this is not representative of final, whatever, it's pre-alpha or whatever. So, and they did make fun of that, at the panel. Mike made fun of that because people are freaking out about a puddle and stuff, and from Spider-Man. So,
right.
I mean, they're just dumb if they think everything's going to be the same, and they're like, oh, it's totally downgraded and it's whatever.
I mean, but we've seen ample, evidence that that's something that's going to happen no matter what happens. Yeah. So, Mike, do you feel like they showed too much, or is there something that you're like, man, I really wish that they would have shown this right now? I need to know about this specific thing before I purchase the game. Like that for you?
For me, I think the reason. Let's see, how do I want to say this? I still, after everything that I've seen, I still want to buy the game. If that makes any sense. Like I've seen enough to where, yeah, I'm going to buy this game. I haven't seen so much of it where I'm like, oh, I understand everything that's happening in this story and in this game, therefore I don't need to buy it. So it's like your kids when they getting close to Christmas and you just tease them just enough, to get them excited and get them excited for all that kind of stuff. And like, you don't want to give everything away. I mean, we've said that before. It's balance. It's making sure that the things that we see might not make it, and the things that we see might not be ready, and that's fine. But I still want to buy the game with everything that we've seen, and I'm okay with that. I think the trailers are exactly what they are. They're perfect teasers. They're getting us excited for it, and I'm okay with it ultimately.
So for
you, it was a really long time to say yes.
Okay, very good.
Kind of went on a weird direction there.
You talked about Christmas, all that.
I did talk about Christmas. It's pretty late over here too, so
Christmas is coming up soon. So you guys were talking about this. Usually, there's a subsection of gamers that they're all about story. Story's like the main focus for a game. Then there's players that gameplay is the main focus of the game. They want progression, they want that loot grind, they want to go that route. For you three, is there, what side of the fence do you land on, or is story king?
For me, story is not king, but it's important. I'll reference some of the games that we played and say that yes, the first thing when you get in there, you want to play story first and you want to figure out what's going on. But then ultimately, when you're done with story, it's all the end game content. They call it elder game in Anthem, and so it's half of one, six dozen of the other. The story is important until the story is over, and then you start doing the intermittent content until you get the DLC, and then you do that story to develop the world. Then you go and level up your character. So it's hand in hand. You can't really have one without the other. You can't just play story, and you can't just grind. So you got to have both.
Okay, JD, where do you land on that fence?
I mean, considering
hopefully you don't land on that.
Considering that BioWare is one of my favorite developers, if not my absolute favorite developer, I would say the story is pretty important to me. For me, like, if it's not an interesting setting, it's really hard for me to kind of like get into a game as a whole. Like, I played the first Titanfall, and that didn't really have much of a story. But even though Titanfall 2 is, just a short campaign and multiplayer, like just expanding upon it in the campaign made me really like Titanfall 2 a lot more. And honestly, I think the focus on story is just really good for. I know immersion is a factor in games that is constantly up in the air because, like, oh well, like, how can you feel drawn in? Like you're doing a bunch of unrealistic things. Ultimately, it's just a game or whatever. But for me, like, a good story is part of the immersion factor. It makes me feel part of the world. It's kind of like the difference between a good action movie and a well-written action movie, where it's like, yeah, the action might be really cool and enjoyable, and you feel like you spent like $12-15, like you feel like that was worth it, as opposed to like an action movie where you're like, okay, like the action was really cool and it made sense. Like I feel much better about that. It was much more enjoyable as a whole.
Very cool. Devon, do you have where do you land on this? I'm guessing you're more gameplay than anything.
Yeah, so I mean, story's good, and story's not gonna last for forever though. So for me, it's all about what's gonna bring me back every day, what's gonna keep me wanting to progress further in the game, and that's what's gonna bring me back every day. So I love the story, and it's great up front, and hopefully they can deliver, like they said, at the panel, where it's easier for them to add more story and not have it to be like a big update or anything. Because that's always great, little bits of story. But, I mean, as we've seen in the past, DLC and that kind of stuff, you can burn through that really quick. And especially for people who take time off work to play the games. But,
We don't know any of those guys.
It's 100% me. But so it's all about leveling and doing those things and getting to the Elder game and progressing your character or javelins and those kind of things. So I'm interested to find out more about that, and I'm fine if they don't give us all the details, because I also like to find out things, have things be a surprise. So
Yeah.
I think the amount of information that we got about the story was perfect. If they could have done anything else, anything that I want them to keep a secret is all the story aspects. That's the kind of thing I want to go in blind. I want to learn about. If I know about how the systems work, if I know about, how guns work or supers, that's the kind of stuff that, sure, I want to know about that. That's interesting to me. I don't mind that being spoiled. But, giving us little hints to the story and telling us that, hey, this story can be improved upon and it can be iterated on, through different contracts. It can quickly happen after you beat the game. They can add in more information about this specific character. It's like, yeah, don't tell me any of that stuff. But, it's great that we know that they're going to be able to quickly iterate and give us more content. So I'm super excited about all that stuff. I usually tend to go gameplay first, but I'm excited for both here. So one of the things that we did learn about story-wise that was pretty interesting, they talked a lot about our crew, about our pit crew, and about our agents. So one of the interesting things that we heard about Owen and Faye, there are ciphers, but they both apparently have telepathic and telecommunicative powers, which I did not expect our Star Wars sci-fi to go that route, to where people actually have they have force powers, essentially.
Yeah, I totally expected radios or a headset in your javelin.
For me, I figured, I didn't think radios or those kind of things would work, because based upon how they described it, like they could see your character and see where you're at, and I'm like, they don't have the technology for that, so there had to be some kind of explanation. And so to me,
really, like you can build this big old mech suit and go tromping around and flying through the woods, and then I don't have a video camera or a two-way radio.
In a previous podcast, the big distinction here is that their technology, they don't have microchips. Yeah. And just that detail can have some sweeping effects on technology. You might use microchips in a dashboard or something like that, or to make control simpler. But the whole thing is that you don't need a microchip to make construction equipment, which is what the Colossus kind of looks like. Javelins or things that could be made, with complex pulleys, gears, and it's handcrafted too. So robotics, everything like that, independently operated things, that's all out the window because of no microchips. Radios, I believe, also use some form of microchips. Televisions use microchips, I believe. Antennas, receivers, all that. It had to be something else, but we just didn't think it was this.
Right, but beyond that, I mean, did you expect? Oh, they can just talk to each other mind to mind. I mean, I didn't expect being able to move stuff with your mind. I didn't expect going that, because it's not. I mean, that fictional in sci-fi to where it's like, oh, they're just talking to each other through their mind powers. And I'm guessing this is why we see in third person. I'm guessing our Cypher is actually watching us in third person using their amplifier chair in the Strider. So that's why we go from first person in the fort, because we don't need them to be watching our back in the fort. So we're in first person. But when we're out there, they're just kind of hovering over us. And they're calling out enemies. They're calling out interesting pieces of information or location while we're out there. So they're just watching us. So it's like they're hacked into a matrix chair and they're watching over our shoulder while we're out there in the wilds.
Yeah, Mark there did say there was a lore reason for third person, so I'm guessing that's 100% what it is. So.
Yeah, Mike, you were saying something?
Sorry, I don't remember. I was listening to you guys. My theory got shut down, so I was kind of tail between my legs, kind of running around. All because of the microchip. Whatever.
Did you have two tails between your legs?
I must have.
All right, so we also know.
But whatever.
So we also know that Faye she apparently went to school for this thing that she can do. I don't know if there's a cipher school. So Faye will be the Mike of our podcast, since Mike has a master's degree. Mike's our Faye, and I'll be the Owen because I went to a community college. So apparently, I don't know if this is
Devon read a book on ciphering. Well, he read the back cover.
I'm a pilot, all right? I'm the one who goes out and does stuff, okay?
So
you guys sit in your chair, be all safe.
I don't know if Owen is part of a mentoring program.
A Big Brother program.
Ciphers without borders.
Ciphers without borders. So there's a lot of interesting information that came out online that we'll get into later in a later podcast when we have more time to talk about them, where they had some information about the characters. But one thing I do want to do is we got introduced to a bunch of new characters. We also did get some new information on Halleck. I don't know if anyone knows, but Nick Turnbay, he plays Halleck.
That wasn't mentioned on the show. That was kind of weird.
Terabay.
Nick Turnabay. That's part of the joke. You didn't catch.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because he mispronounced somebody else.
You can.
Oh man.
Okay, so we got information about agents now. Agents are how we're going to get missions in the game. They're also called contracts. We're going to get them from a couple of different groups. So we know there's the Corvus group. It's kind of like the CIA organization. I think they said Leighton was tied to this organization. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, that he was ex. Or not. That he used to be.
So
but he's not anymore.
Okay. So then we have Yarrow, who is there are a lot of bald people in this game, which is kind of weird. I wonder if it's because John Warner's bald. So he's like, I'm going to make all the important people bald in this game. I'm just kidding, John. So Yarrow is an old freelancer. He's trying to restore the good name of the freelancers. One of the things that comes up when we are introduced to Yarrow, he's given out a mission for our freelancers to go and check out the foundation of Fort Tarsus. Apparently, apparently when they built the fort the first time, it was on a bad foundation, so it sank into the swamp. And then we built another one on top of that one, and then that one sank into the swamp. And then they built the third one, and then that one sank into the swamp also. No, it didn't. So
it's like, where'd you get that crap from?
Get out of my swamp!
There you go, JD. JD got that one.
Yeah.
So you actually have to go on a mission to go check the foundation and make sure the foundation isn't crumbling anymore. So that's pretty interesting little tidbit of information that we got from Yarrow. And apparently we're going to be able to create relationships with these people. So we have Yarrow, who's an old freelancer. Then we have Bryn, who is part of the Sentinels. They said she was like a mid-level lieutenant in that organization. And apparently the Sentinels do not like the freelancers at all. They think the freelancers are just below them. They used to be something and they're nothing now. So they did mention that it's pretty surprising that Bryn is even talking to us as a freelancer. So I'm guessing there's a huge history there of maybe we stole the Sentinel's lunch one day, or you put a cherry bomb in the toilet and blew up their toilets. Who knows what happened there? I'm sure we'll have a lot of more information as we go on contracts for them, which might be pretty interesting. And then we have Leighton, who is a Dominion defector. And JD, I know you read about Leighton more than I have. Do you have information on Leighton on what his story actually is?
So far, there's not much more about him aside from the fact that like he used to be part of the Dominion and came to Fort Tarsis. So, I mean, it's just that, and I mean, if he's from the Dominion, maybe that's part of why the freelancers have access to the storms, which also came from the Dominion, apparently, as per the information on the EA site. Which, a lot of cool stuff to talk about there, but not sure if we want to do that now.
Oh, we definitely can. So the storm was made by the Dominion, and then it was modified by Arcanists in order for the freelancers to use them, which is kind of interesting piece of information. I don't know like why you would have to be modified to use a storm unless it has something to do with the energy that it uses, because we've seen that it doesn't have thrusters. It's using maybe more a different type of power from the Anthem of Creation. Maybe it's something to where you have to be telepathic in order to use it. So you have to be like Faye and Owen. So there's some sort of change that has to take place there. I don't know, Mike, have you read anything or have any inkling of why you would, why would you have to be changed or modified in order to pilot a storm?
Maybe because of its elemental abilities. And didn't we also hear that it's the evade mechanic for them was like a blink? Or am I confusing?
Yes,
No,
teleportation.
right.
It teleportation. So maybe that's why you have to go to that school. So maybe you community college graduates need to stay away from the storm. I don't know. That was that was the joke they used in the panel. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe there's a lot of learning, and maybe that's why we get the storm later on in our gameplay career. We have to learn something, some ability, some type of attribute we have to gain in order to use the storm.
Yeah, because when you start thinking of this is sci-fi fantasy, like bringing teleportation in, I guess it's not that far off from being telekinetic or telepathic. But you start like blinking in and out of existence, however that happens, and I'm guessing there's, I'm sure that would be pretty disorienting, and it'd make you throw up in your javelin. So maybe they just we got to fix your equilibrium because
there's no microchips in there to let you know when you're about to throw up. So
Overheating.
that stuff just goes all up in your face.
What happened? All right, I have a question for you.
Microchips. You can't ask a question. Is it about microchips?
No. So I'm looking at this picture with Yarrow, right? When he's going over those missions there. And he's talking to you about the very first one, about checking the foundation. And the text reads, check to see if Fort Tarsis has strong foundation. Don't want it to fall into hole like last time.
Nice. Nice.
I'm like, I think Yarrow might not have even gone to community college.
I don't know. He might have gone to the School of Hard Knocks, though.
Nice.
Yeah. No, I'm like, maybe they're missing words there.
No, I hope it's like that, because then the game doesn't take itself too seriously. So I hope there's good stuff like that.
I took this to kind of mean that the Dominion, it's not so much that like freelancers had to do stuff that was different, just that the suit was being modified so that it could be used by like freelancers who are like more closer to like normal humans, because apparently there's some kind of quality that makes them able to pilot javelins, and freelancers are the only people who can pilot javelins, aside from other people that are also in the Lancer faction, like Sentinels and such. However, it more just struck me as like the Dominion being so much different from like everybody else, or from the freelancers. Like maybe there's something physiologically different with them. I mean, they are trying to weaponize the Anthem of Creation and stuff, so who's to say that they're above?
I mean, they did say they're a human faction, so
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, well, they could just be like modified humans. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they did say that the Scar were cockroach people, which is pretty cool, like insect human mimics that were born from chaos. So that's another cool thing. But
Yeah,
There's
with
a lot
the
of
Anthem,
questions.
with the Anthem of creation around, I guess there could be tons of different mutations that could happen. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then the last person that we learned about, that will be someone that we get contracts from, was Matthias, and he is part of the Arcanist faction. So the Arcanists are going out looking for a bunch of information. So there's a place called Bastion, and I think that's the Arcanists. That's like their main hometown. That made it sound like that. That's where they first started. There's a bunch of different orders of Arcanists. So I'm guessing there's Arcanists that'll study certain things, maybe certain aspects of the Anthem, maybe certain aspects of the planet that they're on, maybe certain aspects of Shapers. So there's a bunch of different Arcanists, and I'm guessing that's going to play into their storyline. So those are the people that we... Go ahead.
I got the blurb on them here from Yarrow on this third stream there. Do you want me to read that?
Hit us up with the blurb.
Yeah, it says Arcanist, the oldest faction in Bastion. Arcanists can be found at every level of society, from giving basic instruction to researching Shaper relics in the wild. There are various Arcanist academies, depending on the field of study, though all Arcanists see the gathering and preserving information as their spiritual and moral duty. Mike Gamble also said they get lost a lot out in the wild, so...
We're going to have to go find them. We're going to have to go save them a bunch.
Gotta go
So-
save them.
Praxley's group. That's Praxley's group.
Slackers.
They weren't freelancers. You got to help me out.
And I guess I totally forgot about Praxley. I mean, Praxley is going to be someone that we're going to be getting contracts from. I wonder who Praxley is from. If he's either represents just another group inside the fort, maybe just someone that needs help and he's not tied to
Maybe
Corvus.
he's a vendor. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He could...
Or he could be Corvus. I mean, if he's like constantly looking for other ways to do it. I mean, they did say Corvus work in mysterious ways.
Corvus is like CIA, though. You think a certain level of like
CIA,
quality,
Spec Ops.
and
Well, I mean,
Praxley-
Whoever they can get.
Praxley's like, I don't know, they were the cheapest. I went with them.
I mean, hey, disposable assets, right? I don't know if that's CIA or not. I'm not saying he's good at his job.
I think he's just a cheap subcontractor. That's what Praxley is. Not very good.
I did also find it interesting. So they said, like, sometimes the ciphers will be there with you, but other times the agents will be there with you on the missions that they send you on. Because they were talking about when Bren was there, the guy, the designer whose wife was in the audience and was basically, just...
Fangirling over Bren?
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She's like, you get the couch for the rest of the year. But yeah, no, he's like, yeah, when you're out on a mission, she gets real saucy with you or whatever. And it's like, oh, that's interesting that they go with you or something. I mean, I guess because she's a sentinel, she can go out there, because she's got her own javelins. So that'll be interesting.
Probably definitely has access to, a lot of resources that the Sentinels have. So
Didn't they also mention that different faction missions have like different tones? Like they said that, like Corvus might have something a little bit more like espionage-y, and then like whereas Arcanist might have like a more academic feel. But I thought that was definitely interesting because it does seem like there's going to be different types of storytelling in here, like different genres at play.
Yeah, there's also the seedy underbelly of the city, right?
Yeah, and I would definitely hope that, based on who you're going to do a job for, those jobs would change. It wouldn't just be, if you're doing this for Yarrow or if you're doing this from Bryn, you still got to go shoot 5 grabbits and collect their pelts and return them. They should feel different. It should feel like you're doing a different job for a different faction that needs something different instead of the same missions over and over again. Go open, this door 3 times and then come back to me.
You mean factions have to be, should be different and it's not just look different?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of saying that.
Shots fired.
So,
for those of you keeping track at home, that is Anthem 12, Destiny 2.
Let's not say that. Come on now. Destiny's a fine game. People that like Destiny, play your game. We're not going to stop you from having fun. You go play your game. So, yeah.
We just want something better.
Well, you guys are going to keep, stabbing. Anyway, I'm going to move on. So, Mark also said that, you were not, if you complete a certain storyline with a different faction, you are not going to be locked out of completing a different storyline. there's not going to be anything that you choose. You're like, man, if I choose this mission with Bryn, I'm not going to be able to do this mission with Leighton. So you don't have to worry about that. You can play the game, you can complete the missions as you want, and you'll be 100% fine to continue on with the story. You're not going to miss out, which I like. I don't know if it's going to, maybe Tarsus will change differently depending on what you choose in which order, but you won't miss out on a piece of content because of a choice that you made earlier. So I think that's really fantastic. All right,
It might just be a different pathway, though, right?
correct. It could be
Because isn't that what they were hinting to? And they did say that Tarsus was going to change depending on our choices. So it might take that different feel, which will be cool. It'll be cool to see the different, because that's the my story part. So
They
Right,
did
and I
say that
definitely-
the dialogue on certain missions would also be different depending on choices you make. Like if you might have like you make a character angry or they have a bad disposition towards you, their dialogue in a mission towards you might be a little bit more hostile, which is also interesting.
Yeah, and what did you guys think about the binary choices? Left trigger, right trigger. Do you guys think that's good enough for the game that we want? Did you want a little bit more depth? If you wanted to answer yes, you could do it happily, or you could answer like Devon usually does and just like mumble under your breath where you can't be understood. So is that something that you guys are okay with? Just binary options?
as long as my character is able to have a voice and speak, then I think I'm good. Because I played this game one time where a lot of things just happen to my character instead of me like directly influencing it, and it was
Super
kind of
Mario
frustrating.
Super Mario Brothers was tough like
He
that, man.
never said a word.
Nope.
Dang Mario.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying.
So for me, it was perfectly fine. They told us for a long time it's binary choice, and people were like, "Oh, there's only two choices." It's like, what do you think binary means? It's one or the other. I mean,
Oh, is that what that means?
yeah,
You mean
0 or
Oh,
1, one or the other. Come on, people.
I was gonna go somewhere, but I'm not.
Thank you for not going anywhere. So,
I was going to incite public.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it before we actually started recording, but I mean, it's not going to make that big of a difference. I mean, the only big thing that's missing here from the dialogue choices is the ability to inquire about more detail on a particular subject. Because usually, like in Mass Effect Dragon Age, like there's 3 choices on a wheel, and one of them's positive, neutral, or negative. Like a nice response, a neutral but maybe witty response, and then like a mean response or more like logic focused response. And then on the other side of the wheel are like the other options where it's all like investigate, and then you hit that and a bunch of other options come up, like I think it's like 5 options, and those are all just like asking for additional detail about things, which you don't really need all that. But the whole thing is that it was a really good way to learn about the world and the lore and like other characters, like hey, we need you to go on this mission to rescue our people. And it's like, okay, investigate. What were your people doing? What is this mission trying to accomplish? Why did they not come back in the first place? Anything else you can tell me about that before I go in there to a dark cave and just be like me and 2 other guys and against a bunch of monsters?
I mean, that's not
Maybe.
to say that they can't go there, right? Like maybe you say, yeah, you'll go do this mission, and then they just tell you information about it instead of you having to go through. That was one of the things that was like when I was playing it through Andromeda, and I was just going through, and I'm like, man, there's so much crap I have to click on here because it's gives me an exclamation point that I have to do something. And I'm like, all right, let me click this, and I have to keep clicking through all this crap that I don't care about right now, and for it to go away. So I don't know. I think for me, I guess there's the BioWare baggage people. And those of us who are coming in with a clean slate.
So there's I really like how it looked. I mean, I'm glad I can just be like, answer the question easily. I don't have to think of, where are my Paragon points? Is that what they called? Renegade Paragon? Is that what it was called, JD? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
That's
So
what
I
it
had
was.
you had your cat points, and then you had your dog points, and you had to worry about where your cat points were at and where your dog points were at. Here it's just, this is how I want to act. This is going to be the response I get. I'm going to go on the mission. I'm going to do it that way. So it'll be interesting to see. Like, again, like Devon said, I don't have the baggage, though. So I'm excited to see what this is like. I'm glad I'm not going to be having to answer emails, though, like you did in Andromeda. You got so many emails in that game. Man, I can't even keep my own work email box clean, and I have to do it in Mass Effect. Not going to happen. Just delete all the messages from everyone. All right. Anything else you guys wanted to cover? I mean, this is. Do you guys have like a faction? You're like, I'm definitely going to do all these missions first. I'm definitely not going to touch Bryn's missions. Do you guys have a preference from what we've seen so far?
No, I don't.
I'll probably go in like proximity of where they are in relationship to each other in Fort Tarsus. Like the first one I'll get
Whatever's
to. I'll
closest.
do that mission. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and if and maybe it'll be maybe it'll be story driven. So you do a Bryn mission, you do an alchemist mission, and then you do a few arcanist. So I mean, we'll see. Because it doesn't seem like the factions really mean, like they do in some other games where it gives you rep or it gives you. So we'll just play them all. It'll be fun. Nah.
I'm gonna guess you're gonna get some amount of reputation, but I'm gonna go Arcanist because sounds like that's where you're gonna get most of your lore from, and that's the part I'm really pretty interested in. So I will definitely start there and do as much as I can there. JD, do you have a preference?
I'm definitely looking forward to Corvus because I want to see like what kind of missions that's going to be like because they're supposed to be like CIA mission, but you're going around this big old hulking like metal suit. Like I wonder how how well they do recon and intelligence gathering.
Yeah, I imagine you can't be too quiet.
Those
if
jungle
you're
trees are pretty big.
Just everybody stay back here. Clunk, clunk, clunk.
And I guess one thing that we haven't seen yet either, I'm going to guess that the vendors are going to have opportunities to give out missions. I mean, that's like a great place that most RPGs have vendors that will give you a mission to go out and collect stuff for them so that they can sell you stuff. So, potentially there's going to be a lot more people that we can receive quests from. I mean, like we said before, Praxley was one of them. There's weapon vendors. There's people that, give out blueprints for weapons and for armor, so it'll be interesting to see all that. Before we move on, Devon, is there anything else that you saw in your notes that you wanted to touch on before we continue?
So I noticed in there, like when they talked about, like he was all the spice market type place, or was the seedy underbelly, right, or whatever. So I noticed in there you can see your ranger that it was, or maybe it's not your ranger, but I'm guessing it was. Because the one they showed it off, it's in Fort Tarsus, right, where you can get in there. You can also get in your Strider. You can get into your stuff there. And so I was wondering, maybe that place, wherever that spice market is with the different looking rangers, maybe that's a place you can go to and load into instead of just Fort Tarsus and the Strider. Because your javelin was there, like loaded up on the wall area for you to get into and leave. Just like it was in the Strider and also in Fort Tarsus. What do you guys think?
Yeah, like it could be just like a different cave, an outpost that maybe isn't regulated by the Sentinels.
Yeah,
they're kind of hidden out somewhere out in the wild so that they can be left alone. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
I bet it's part of. Sorry, Steve. I bet it's part of Fort Tarsus.
Yeah, so maybe it's just a different section of Fort Tarsus.
Yeah.
It could be like old Fort Tarsus that fell in the hole,
the swamp,
and that's where the seedy underbelly is in the first one. That kind of we're gonna have to start over. So that's also a possibility that it's down there, and it's part of those ruins. But I'm hoping that we also know of a couple more places. They said the Dominion is kind of up north, and we know that the Legion of Dawn, the Fortress of Dawn, is also up north. Maybe that's where they're at, and there is another place called Bastion. So, I mean, potentially there's a lot of other places that we can go that aren't just Fort Tarsus.
Yeah. They did also have another named enemy in the video. I don't know if you guys saw that.
And
I guess I missed
in the trailer?
Yes.
It's you can't see the last letter, but it's RIS. It's either an A or an O, and the last word is Varn, VARN. So, but it's like a legendary or elite. It has the skull with the one thing coming off of it. So.
And what? When was this? Who was fighting this thing? I did not see.
You can see it's a Colossus that's fighting him. I put the pictures up on the drive. It's picture 3553. Since I broke down the entire trailer into frames and
into individual frames,
it took me over an hour to scroll through every single frame to find stuff I wanted to talk about.
speaking of every single frame, the particle effects in this game are like there's
Crazy.
so many particle effects everywhere. Anytime you shoot something, there's either lightning or fire. There's even a mix. When I think there's a grenade that's thrown that looks like it's a mixture of lightning and fire. I mean, there's
Yeah, I don't know. So I was wondering about that with lightning one. Also, I think the storm hit it at the same time as that. That's what I was thinking. I'd have to go back and look at it, but
and if you guys did notice, there were no damage numbers or combo indicators on the screen.
yeah, they took that out for people so they don't freak out all the time.
Don't freak out.
Cool. Well, guys, if there's nothing else, unless there's something specific that you want to talk about, I think we will kind of end it here. I think we'll do some deep dives into characters, deep dives into the trailer itself. There's tons of stuff in there. The storm opening treasure chest. I mean, these weren't just like it was an actual treasure chest that they opened up. Oh, and first, before we do that, Devon has reminded me, because he didn't remind me at the beginning of the show, that we have a Colossus pin giveaway that we are going to do right now. And Devon is going to choose the winner from our Discord. We had a little giveaway. We wanted people to tell us what their call signs were going to be. So Devon is now going to pick a winner from our Discord.
The winner is Native VT. So
Yahoo!
we will let them know.
Yeah.
And so
Congratulations.
next week, we got 2 more pins to give away, but still many chances. The next week, we are giving away the Ranger pin.
Going back to the Ranger. All right, so we're going to give a Ranger pin away, and we're going to do that how this time?
We're going to go back to Twitter. I just rotate through this stuff, you know. So,
Next.
yeah.
So we will put a Twitter post up that people will have to follow the Twitter, and we will do another Ranger pin giveaway. And maybe we probably won't hear anything till when. When's the next time we would hear something? I don't think they're going to Tokyo Game Show. We have a couple people that asked, and it doesn't sound like BioWare knows if they're going to do that or not. But right now we're about 6, maybe 5.5 months away before the game releases. We do know that the demo the first demo release is going to be February 1st.
Like a full-fledged demo, you know, like that's what they wanted to specify. Like, this is not a beta or a technical test, it's a demo.
Yeah, this is not something that is going to be early where they're going to be asking for bug reports. This is going to be straight up a portion of the game. They did not say that it's the first part of the game. They said it was a different part, so you're not going to get spoiled on the first part. But this is a demo that's going to happen the first. You get access to the demo if you have pre-ordered any version. You don't have to have signed up for EA Access, EA Premier, Ultra, Mega, Ultra, or whatever it's called.
Origin Access Premier.
Yeah, you just have to have signed up, just have to have pre-ordered, and you get access to that beta. So, and that happens February 1st. So take all the time off you want. I believe that's a Friday. Check your calendar. So, and other than that, guys, I think this is it for episode 52 of the Freelancer Codex podcast.
Please subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, get us over to 100. Once we get to 100, we get a better URL, and it doesn't have to be so confusing. So it'll just be youtube.com/freelancercodex. Maybe it'll be in the future freelancer.com/freelancercortex. But we probably won't do that. We'll probably just leave it as the Codex because that's how we roll. So
a lot of information out there, man. A lot of information.
There's a ton of information. Anyone that says there's not a lot, I don't think they're paying attention. One thing that we didn't do here, and we might discuss it later, is the Q&A that happened. And I think we've been talking so much about like the communication of the game, how people are receiving the information. There's still a lot of people asking about things like microtransactions. We've known that they weren't going to do microtransactions for like months now. This is one of the first things that they announced after the whole, Battlefront 2 debacle, that there were not going to be, you cannot pay for power in Anthem. You're going to be able to buy cosmetics, but you're going to know what you're going to get. It's not going to be a loot box situation. And this is something that has been known. So again, I think it's, maybe now that as we're getting closer and, the Game Informers, the IGNs, Kotakus are going to pick up the panel and start, writing articles for the panel. So that information is going to be more, sanctioned podcasts are going to be more communicative about the game, and it's going to be more readily available. I mean, this is the time where things are going to start to ramp up. So hopefully that kind of stuff happens. I know Mark has been man, that dude answers so many questions on Twitter every day, and it's the same questions he answers all the time. It's like, this is when the game comes out. This is where you can play it as. There's no cross play. There's no cross saves yet. Cross saves is something that they're still working on. There is no PvP. One thing they did say that there's going to be no PvP at launch, which is kind of worrying. Hopefully they just no, PvP doesn't work at all, but that's my personal preference.
No, so they stopped. So Mark actually stopped saying not at launch, and the last couple times he answered that question, said there's no current plans for PvP. So,
oh, good.
That's. I was having that discussion the other day about that, but it doesn't matter. So.
Yeah. And Mike Gamble was on the panel. We had Mike on the show previously. He had wonderful things to say about our podcast. Like Mike, what do you think about our show?
We really, really, really appreciate it, and we really love you guys. It's awesome in a totally platonic way. Remember?
Totally platonic way, Mike.
Oh, he was so
totally
nice.
platonic.
Like really, he was so. Nice.
All right, guys. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Yeah, but appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Thanks for putting up with all this weird software, hardware issues. Coming at you remote from California. So until next time, see, I can't even talk. It's like a California thing. Until next time, guys, this is Skipper Storm coming. We will see you on the other side.
Later.
Bye-bye.
It's definitely not just a California thing.
Find us on Twitter at Freelancer Codex, on Facebook at Freelancer Codex,
You
or
can't
through
see what
email
I'm
at
doing.
freelancercodex@gmail.com.
Oh, you can see what I'm doing.
At freelancercodex.com. Our show will always be free. If you'd like to send some support, you may do so at patreon.com/freelancercodex. Our individual Twitter handles are at Stephen Lamson, at mlamson25, at Neverfear, and at JD the Joke Dealer. Freelancers, it's time to get to work.
What's your name, darling?
Savannah.
Samantha, go for it.
Go for it.